Should games spend more time in the oven? I mean, duh, but is the answer always as easy as that? So the internet is a blessing and a curse. On the one hand, you have plenty of pros, like you are allowed to play online when you get older and you don't have as much free time as you used to because you're married and you have kids and you have a job and whatever else there is to do. You also have DLC that you can add on to a game in addition to the main game. The internet also allows us to purchase directly from the console instead of needing to go out to the midnight release if you care about that. A lot of people still find midnight releases fun. I still think they are, but I can't go to as many of them now because, well, got the ring. Then you have the other side of the internet, in which after a long hard day of work, you come on, turn on your console, and it's got a system update. It's got a game update that takes several gigs, and you have to wait about, 10, 15 minutes, and then you gotta reset your console. Some games even require an always on connected to the internet, and looked at how that worked out for companies like Rocksteady or the Xbox One when it first came out. Companies also can release unfinished games and have a day one patch. And that's what brings me to games like Jedi Survivor, like Cyberpunk. Great games, they're just buried under performance issues. Then we have Tears of the Kingdom. Apparently, Tears of the Kingdom was finished for a year before its release, and it got a delay to get some polish. And for all the faults that you can find with Nintendo, they're very stubborn with online. They don't preserve their games very well, and that's why people emulate them and have the ninjas come after them. And they as much as we like to complain about that, you got to admit, with Tears of the Kingdom, they really took time to perfect this game. And lately, there's been the conversation around all these games releasing that are just unfinished, that need day one patches. And then you have a game like Tears of the Kingdom. So the answer is just to delay the game, right? Well, yes and no. As far as we know, Tears of the Kingdom is the last major release we know about for the Nintendo Switch. Of course, you got Pikmin 4, you have Everybody 1-2 Switch, and then you have some other minor games coming to the Switch, of course, but this is like the big to-do here, like Zelda. This is the swan song of the Nintendo Switch, because we're all anticipating soon that Nintendo is going to start talking about their successor to the Switch. One reason I say that, yeah, you can delay your game in the case of Tears of the Kingdom is Tears of the Kingdom is not only the last known major Switch game that's coming out. You look at all these crazy videos, right? You have customization. You can definitely beat it in about an hour and a half, or you can put hundreds of hours into it and not even touch any of the story or any of like the map even. You can really just go out and customize all these contraptions and kill these like crazy enemies with it and stuff. Personally, I think this is going to be one of the games where it's going to be kind of like Skyrim and The Witcher before it, where they're just so infinitely replayable that the game's longevity is going to be long into the future. Another thing that Zelda has going for it is the franchise has been around since 1987 with about 30 games in the entire series, so no kidding, it has 10 million units sold in the first week alone. It's kind of like the MCU. I mean, we up until Endgame, we were all going to see the next one with anticipation. Even after Endgame, people are still watching MCU movies and Marvel movies and DC movies and all that stuff too. So Nintendo also has other exclusives in its library. So Nintendo is a powerhouse titan that can very much afford to delay games whenever it wants to. Not even to mention that it's branching out into different divisions other than games. The Mario movie just made $1 billion and is the second, maybe first highest grossing animated film of all time. And As of today's video, it is the 21st or the 20th highest grossing film of all time. You would think, yeah, just delay your game and spend more time in the oven, right? I mean, obvious answer. Well, yeah, I mean, better is a delayed game than a game that's released way too early. I mean, we've seen that with Cyberpunk, and we've seen that with Jedi Survivor. We've also seen it in many other games too. So that's certainly true. If you've ever read the book Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, there's actually about 10 different scenarios with 10 different size game companies that develop games in general. So the devs on these games aren't always guaranteed jobs before the completion of the game. You could have a game like Stardew Valley, which has a 5-person development team, kind of like Pokemon, I guess, but all the funds are generated using Kickstarter, and there's only a certain amount of money that they can throw at the game. So when we say a blanket statement of just delaying your game is like the right answer, some companies don't have what it takes to delay a game. Sometimes they just have to put it out on the market. On the other hand, that being said, if there are glaring issues that are very, very obvious, then yeah, you should probably put as much time into ironing out those bugs as you possibly can. The long-term sales for the game would greatly benefit from not having the game review upon release pretty poorly. You also don't want to just release a game and rely completely on that day one patch. That just doesn't look good. You want your game to be a little bit more finished. Gone are the days pre-internet where a game shipped and that was it. It was the complete game. It's just not like that anymore. We can all take a lesson from Nintendo that polish is good. And if you have the ability to polish out your bugs, then definitely 100% go for it. The long-term sales definitely are going to benefit you to begin with. But do you take a year to polish your game like Nintendo just did? Does your game need a year? That's another question. No game comes without its issues. If you listen to the podcast Play, Watch, Listen, you can listen to Alana Pierce, who works on games. She used to review games for IGN. Troy Baker, who's a voice actor. Austin Wintory, who's a composer for a game. And Mike Bithell, who is the director of several games, will tell you that even in the highest rated games of all time, even those have bugs in them. You can easily look at Ocarina of Time, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. You can look at Metal Gear. You can look at Uncharted, Halo. They all have different bugs that are glaring. So no game is going to be perfect. But even as much as I love Breath of the Wild, I still don't like the story structure in that game. I don't like the fact that you have to go out and find all the cutscenes. I think Tears of the Kingdom did it a lot better and give you the cutscenes as you go along. To me, also the boss of Breath of the Wild was super underwhelming, but for all those small little faults there, I still think the game did a lot to advance the series going forward, and it pioneered the path for other video games to go forward too. Just look at Horizon Forbidden West. You have the umbrella that takes you down. Just look at Immortals Phoenix Rising. I mean, you have Assassin's Creed Odyssey mixed with Breath of the Wild. Boom. While polish won't guarantee a good game, it will definitely 100% save the initial reviews from saying that there's a good game underneath all the glitches and bugs that there are. If you're a game developer and you can focus on polish, then definitely go for it. That being said, polish isn't always possible. So for players, it might be a good idea to understand that. So what's your opinion on, is the answer to making better games just delaying games for polish? Let me know your comments let me know your opinion in the comment section below. I'm open to talking with you about different comments in the comment section below. I'll be there for a little while. If you like what you see here, a like and a subscribe would help out the channel. And if you like dad jokes, as is the dad of our channel, then you can check them out right over here.